Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining me. My name is Dr. Gloria Eninaya, and today I'll be presenting the case Building Castles in the Air, Ethical Resilience and Legitimacy-Led Partnerships in Emerging Markets. This session draws from my upcoming book from Palgrave Macmillan entitled Institutional Entrepreneurship in African FinTech, and from my practical experience designing and implementing large-scale programs across the continent. This is a story about institutional fit, legitimacy, and what really determines whether public-private partnerships succeed or collapse. I approach this topic from two angles. First, as a former management consultant with Accenture and Ernst & Young, where I supported complex institutional programs. Second, as an academic at Pan Atlantic University and the founder of Cleos Advisory, where I now research and teach institutional entrepreneurship, legitimacy, and change readiness. I have led and advised national entrepreneurship initiatives, youth programs, and ecosystem strengthening interventions. I chose this case because in my work, I found that many well-designed projects fail not due to lack of competence, but because of misalignment within the partner institution itself. In my book, I introduce the 7 pillars of institutional entrepreneurship: opportunity recognition, product development, brand identity, team building, strategic partnerships, marketing strategy, and growth strategy. All 7 matter, but today we're focusing on just one: legitimacy led partnerships. This pillar asks a simple question: does your partner actually possess the authority and institutional credibility required to execute what they promise? As we'll see in this case, that question determines everything. The program at the center of this case did not fail because the implementer lacked skill. In fact, the implementer, whom I refer to as Castle Limited, a pseudonym, was highly capable, ethical, and mission driven. The program faltered because the institutional partner lacked the internal alignment, authority, and legitimacy required for smooth execution. This is a lesson many organizations learn too late. Castle Limited came prepared: a strong team, operational discipline, and the ability to manage scale. But Castle partnered with an institutional unit that had good intentions but limited authority. This was not a senior division with budgetary control, operational coverage, or influence during internal negotiations. This structural mismatch silently predetermined difficulty. Good people were involved, but the institutional positioning meant that their yes did not carry the execution power Castle assumed it did. The impact was significant. Application numbers soared into the tens of thousands, but only a fraction could be processed through the internal systems available. Timelines shifted. Terms of the agreement were reinterpreted mid-implementation. Beneficiaries lacked clarity on roles and expectations. Leadership changes altered priorities. External support from funders became available, but internal pathways changed before the implementer could participate. Castle bore the operational strain and reputational costs, even though these issues were rooted in institutional coordinator failures and not incompetence. Most entrepreneurs and consultants are taught a simple partnership playbook: pitch well, win the contract, deliver with excellence, trust your internal champion. That advice works in predictable environments, but in emerging markets with layered governance structures, it is incomplete and sometimes dangerous. At the heart of the problem was a misalignment between enthusiasm and authority. The partner units Castle worked with could not control budgets, guarantee compliance, align cross-departmental execution, coordinate internal stakeholders, or protect the partnership during leadership transitions. This created what I call a phantom partnership, an agreement supported by a memorandum of understanding and committed individuals, but without the institutional power needed for implementation. Conventional wisdom fails because it assumes several things that are not always true. One, access is not authority. Someone who can talk to you may not be able to deliver. Two, endorsement is not legitimacy. A well meaning champion may have little influence internally. Three, contracts are not self executing. Complex institutions require multi level alignment. Four, enthusiasm is not institutional readiness. Intent cannot compensate for governance realities. This gap between intention and institutional capacity is where many partnerships collapse. In my book, I propose a new approach, legitimacy led partnerships. Instead of starting with pitching, we start with performance and use results to attract customers and partners whose yes will be believed, respected, and executed internally. Successful partnerships require real decision making authority, institutional legitimacy, operational readiness, and strategic alignment. The right partner is not the person who is excited about your idea. It is the person whose approval has institutional consequences. This approach fundamentally changes how partnerships are formed. The old model says pitch first, chase partners, trust symbolic signs, rely on internal champions, sign MOUs. The new model says perform first, attract decision makers, verify actual authority, engage institutional gatekeepers, and prioritize enforceability. Legitimacy-led partnerships transform partnership formation from guesswork into a disciplined strategy. The benefits of this approach are significant. You get more resilient contracts, faster execution, lower political and operational risk, clear accountability, protection during leadership transitions, better alignment across internal ecosystems, and ultimately, a far greater chance of scaling national interventions. In reality, legitimacy is not a soft factor, it is the true currency of commercial resilience. If you'd like to explore these ideas in more depth, I invite you to join the waitlist for my upcoming book, Institutional Entrepreneurship in African FinTech, launching in Q1 2026 with Paul Gray Macmillan. You can sign up at gloryeninaya.com/insef. And if your organization is navigating complex partnerships in emerging markets, feel free to reach out through programs at cleosadvisory.com. Thank you for listening, and I look forward to the conversations that this will spark.